I hope you're having a super fantastic, sparkling day. Welcome to Before the Dirt Nap podcast number 2087. Tonight, the most alive I've ever felt, a life reflection. If you haven't figured it out already, Monday through Friday, we have been concentrating on legacy, creating your legacy, why you need to create your legacy. Now, tonight, we're bringing all that stuff that we've done over the last 4 nights together, and we are talking about the most alive you have ever felt. And looking back over your life, when were those times that you felt the most alive? So we're going to go through some of those. What does alive mean really? It's not just breathing, it's being awake in your own story. Think of a moment where everything clicked. The wind was right. You felt joy, clarity, awe, or fierce purpose. It might have been climbing a mountain, or sipping tea in your grandmother's kitchen, or dancing in the rain. Dancing in the rain? I hope I get to do that tonight. We're supposed to be having thunderstorms come through this evening, so fingers crossed that we get out there and dance in the rain before the thunderstorm arrives. Anyway, so we have some rain without a thunderstorm. So, for example, mine is reading love letters from World War II while sitting on the back patio. It wasn't my letter, but my heartbeat didn't seem to know that. And what I did is I actually subscribed. You got to look at this cute. Isn't this box gorgeous? Isn't this stunning? This is the Forever Letters that are done by Forever Letters. And what they are is that they take real life events and create stories between, and in this case, it's a mystery, suspense, romance thrown in there. And they create these stories and send you every 2 weeks. You get sent. Oh, yeah, I did. This is the one. Making sure I got the right one out because I had to block my address out. You get these gorgeous envelopes, and the address is actually done in this font here below where it says Helen Brahms. But it's got these gorgeous envelopes, absolutely stunning envelopes, front and back. And then inside, now this story is the Audrey Rose story. And she's at the 4th of July dance for the Army Rangers. I think it was the Army Rangers. Pretty sure it was the Army Rangers. And she meets Charlie Burke, Corporal Charlie Burke. Yes, it was the Rangers. It says here, right here, Rangers. Now, there's 24 letters in total. They come every 2 weeks for a year. And these letters are leading up to June 6, 1944, where D-Day, landing at Normandy, and the different roles that these two characters play. Now, these are not my letters. They are not real letters, but they are based on historical facts. And so this is the one that's written by Charlie, and you can see his writing there. And you'll notice some words are in red, and these are phrases or words that were very common during that time. And you can go to their website and you can look up the words there and see what they're all about. And then he's writing there. But the cool part is you get gifts inside your envelopes too. So this is a magnifying glass, so you can read that little tiny writing thing there. Then we have Audrey Rose's dance card. And on the back is written, "I thought you might like this back. Thanks again for saying yes so many times, CB." And inside here, I don't know if you can read that very well, but every dance, and there's like 24 or 26 of them in there, has got his name on every single dance. So if you don't know what a dance card was, back in the day when they used to have dances, the woman would be given these dance cards and a pencil, and men would come up and put their name next to a dance that they wanted to have with this person. And so when it came time for the dance, the gentleman would come over, offer his hand, and take the woman onto the dance floor, and they would dance together. He made sure he was the only one that could do that. It was the 4th of July, the Rangers' 4th of July dance. Then there's this card. This is the very first one. So there's the card in here that talks about the Audrey Rose collection. It says here, the Audrey Rose collection takes place during World War II and is centered on the most significant days in history, June 6, 1944, D-Day. Audrey Rose Drollinger meets Corporal Charlie Henderson Burke at the 4th of July Army Ranger dance in Tullahoma, Tennessee. The two soon learn they have a great deal in common, a love for their country, loyalty to the Army, and of course, an immediate attraction to one another. As the relationship develops through their correspondence, the couple move closer and closer to one of the most important days of World War II. What neither foresees, however, is the significant role each will play in the day's events, and whether they'll make it out alive. Now, there's all sorts of stuff that come in. There's postcards they put in the things. There's telegrams that get put in there. The telegrams come in and they've got a little sticker around them that says "Open last," which means you got to read the letter. You got to look at everything else in the envelope before you open that telegram. And there's reasons for that. It would spoil the story in the letter if you did it first. But these are really cool. And so even though these are World War II letters, yes, they are fiction. Yes, they are based on historical events. You still get the heart racing sometimes with some of the challenges that they face just as a couple, and the love that develops between them, and the challenge, like I said, the challenges that they face as a couple and as individuals. So, and then you can purchase the nice thing that they all fit in. So, I like these. I like going back over them every now and again. So that's that one. The other one I do is I like reading. I like listening to memoirs, especially when the person the memoir is about is reading their own memoir. That is just totally awesome. You get everything in their own voice. Right now I'm listening to Sir Cliff Richard's book, A Head Full of Music. And for those Americans who don't know who Cliff Richard is, he has been involved in rock and roll since 1958. When he had 1957, when he had his first single, Move It. And that's how long he's been involved in rock and roll. Longer than the Rolling Stones. Longer than the Beatles. He even talks about, in fact, I just finished listening to a chapter today where he was talking about the time that he got to meet the Beatles. Cliff Richard and were they Cliff Richard and the Drifters at that time, or Cliff Richard and the Shadows by then? But whichever they were, there was Cliff Richard and his band were having a party at one of the band members' houses, and the Beatles were in town doing a concert. So they said, and they were just getting started. So they told the Beatles to come on over, and they ended up having this really cool conversation in the kitchen. Like any good party, you end up in the kitchen. And then the Beatles were talking about a song that they were thinking about releasing, but they weren't sure about it. So Bruce Welch, who was one of the band members for Cliff Richard, one of the Shadows, he pulls out in this house, there's going to be guitars, right? You got a musician in the house, there's going to be guitars. So he pulls out a guitar, John Lennon takes it and starts singing. What's the name? Oh, no, I can't remember the name of the song. And when the Beatles had finished singing, the Cliff Richard and the Shadows that's right. They asked Cliff Richard if he had any songs coming out and if he could delay his release so their song had a chance. And so when they listened to the song, they were just like, go, release it. It's going to be a number one. And it was. And I can't remember the name of the song that they were playing, but it was really cool. So just listening to all of this stuff about, he's got this head full of music. He lives in his music world. Everything he thinks about is in music. And he talks about some of the greats that came before him, some of the greats that came after him, some of the people he got to meet in the musical industry, what influence, Elvis Presley was a huge influence on him. Elvis Presley was also a huge influence on the Beatles. If there had been no Elvis Presley, there would be no Sir Cliff Richard and no Beatles. That's how he summed it up. So it's very interesting following, because I've followed his career for a number of years. He was the very first concert I went to see when I was in New Zealand, and absolutely love the guy, love his music and everything else. So, but I love listening to it because he is reading it himself. So I get lost in those and I get inspired by their stories. So the memoirs, I get inspired by those. The other ones I get inspired by are books like this one, The Lost Girls of Paris, which is inspired by true stories of bravery and resilience. And it's about this woman who, there's 3 storylines going through this thing. 3 storylines. There's one of the women's spies, who is Maria. We follow her story. Then we follow Elaine's story, and she's like in charge of the female team of spies. And then there is it Grace? I think it's Grace. Hang on. Yeah, then there's Grace, and this is a few years after the war. She finds the suitcase that belonged to I don't know, Elaine. I keep getting those two mixed up. Eleanor. So she finds the suitcase that belonged to Eleanor, and for some reason removes photos out of there. And you find it all. It still comes part of the story. And so she's determined to find out who these people were in these photographs. And this takes place a few years after the war. So you're looking at Eleanor's story and Marie's story during the war, and then Grace. Let's see. I think they were 1943 because it was leading up to D-Day. 1943/44 is when we were looking at their story for Eleanor and Marie. And then we meet up with Grace in 1945, I think it is, 1945, 1946. But there were actual women spies, and this book is based on those women from World War II who sacrificed everything. And they were basically radio operators, is what they were. They were radio operators because the problem that they had is that the male spies were being knocked out simply because there were too many men around. And you're in a time where you're in a time of war where the men are away fighting, so they need to have more women. You know, women can blend in. There's lots of women around at that time because the men are off fighting, and that was Eleanor's reasoning for creating this section that was all women radio operators and training them to be spies and all of that sort of stuff and be these radio operators to be able to support the resistance in France as they were getting ready for D-Day. Very, very interesting story. And again, inspired by true stories. So I love stories like that because when I find out stuff's inspired by true stories, I want to go look up the actual story. So that sort of like brings me alive because it's all again, it's all goes back to genealogy. It goes back to genealogy, you know, finding these stories. Who are these women? What legacy did they leave? These women left an incredible legacy. Put that over there. All right, we're done with that one. Let's see. So reading the letters, reading those types of books where my heartbeat will race when I come across something that sort of like just really hits home with me. In the morning and in the evening, going on walks with Zephy without the distraction of audiobooks and music. I learned very quickly because I like to listen to audiobooks when I'm walking or music when I'm out walking and stuff. But once I got Zephy, that went by the wayside pretty quickly because I found out that, you know, she's like all over the place and I had problems controlling her because she was like zigzag over here, zigzag over there, because she just felt like she was being completely ignored. I turned the music off. I turned the books off. I was completely present with her when we went walking. And the first day I did that, she was beautiful. She walked beautifully on leash. And that was being in the moment with her and being present and just listening to the sounds of nature around us. The music of nature, as we put it. Let's see. These moments don't have to be big, just true. When you are most in sync with yourself, your people, when are you most in sync with yourself, your people, and your purpose? It might have looked ordinary from the outside. Maybe it was a creative burst, a brave decision, a deep belly laugh, a conversation that changed everything. For me, things like stopping to help somebody in need. There was one time I was at visiting a town for a conference that I was having, and there was a homeless man out on the street. He was near a coffee shop, and it was one of those coffee cafe type shops, and he wanted some money for food. And so I actually walked him inside there and bought him breakfast. And got an amazing hug of gratitude from him. And that just, boom, that just sparked me because I love helping people. I love helping people. Like I come alive with it, whether it's doing research for them, whether it's helping them out with a problem that they have. I love to help others. That's a trait that I have inherited from my ancestors. So just doing something simple as that. Maybe it's a friend in strife and you don't know how to help them, but you give them a hug. And a true hug is held for at least 20 seconds. And when you give that true hug, you just you be very present in the moment, not like looking at your watch going, okay, 5 seconds, right, we're done. No, you don't worry about the time. You just be present in that moment and just hold that person, and your soul and their soul will connect on a deep level that we can't understand, but it's conveying everything that you can't find the words for to that person. It is an amazing feeling. It is incredible. I love hugs. I saw, let's see, was it on Wednesday, there was a guy that came over and bought Brad's golf clubs. And he was super excited because he's 6 foot. My husband was 6'5". This gentleman that came over was 6'5". And it turned out, and he was absolutely rapt to get these golf clubs, absolutely ecstatic to get the golf clubs. And he kind of gives me a sideway hug. He says, I'm sorry. I said, I'm a hugger. And I said, so am I. And I says, I love tall hugs. And with that, he just opened his arms and I just walked into his arms and we just had a tall hug. If you don't know what a tall hug is, it's somebody who is 13 inches taller than you, at least. Because Brad was 6'5", I'm 5'4", 13 inches the difference. So it's anybody over 6 foot for me. Closer to 6'5", the better. So I got to have a tall hug, and that just it didn't matter that I had finally sold his golf clubs. What mattered to me was the fact I had received a tall hug, and it felt incredible. And it was from a complete stranger, which was even better. They don't normally walk around hugging people, but given the chance, I probably would. What can a life look like in a legacy? Hang on. What can a life look like in a legacy? When your grandkids remember you, will it be the career or the way you danced in the kitchen? Will they remember your milestones or your presence? My grandfather was an amazing storyteller. He would take fairy tales and turn them into something special that included the grandkids that he was surrounded by at the time he was telling the story. We all had a character role in his stories. It was absolutely amazing. He was there. He was present with us. He made the time for us to be able to sit there next to him, sit on his lap, sit next to him, sit on the floor in front of him. We surrounded him. And that time there, that is legacy. Being present in the moment with the people that you love, the people that mean the most with you. It's putting the phone, it's taking this thing and putting it aside and just being present with the grandkids in the moment. Like I love with the grandkids when I would babysit them, I love it when they want to go swimming. There's a pool out the back, they go swimming. I don't do the swimming thing. But I will sit there on one of the lounges that are by the pool there, and I will watch them having fun. And I'm there and I'm present with them. I'm not looking on my phone or anything else. These kids are in water. I'm responsible for them. I'm making sure that I know what's going on and that they are safe and that they are okay. I cannot take my eyes off them for a second. So that's being present with them. And will they remember that in years to come? Maybe, maybe not, but I was present with them. It's playing games with them. You know, the kids want to play games. Okay, let's play a game. The cool part, the fun part with grandkids is, well, you tell them, I've never played this game before. How do you play it? And so they give you the instructions at that a set of instructions at that time. Then halfway through the game, they change them. I'm like, you can't do that. You can't go changing the rules on me. But you know, it's being there and being present with them. That is being alive, and that is what legacy looks like in that regard. You don't need permission to feel alive. You don't need a sabbatical, a skydiving voucher, or a viral moment. Start noticing what really makes you feel most you. Then do more of that on purpose. Like every time I do a brainstorming session, whether it's by myself or with others, I come alive and feel part of something bigger than me. And when I'm doing brainstorming sessions by myself, I'm either sitting out at the table with my roll of craft paper out, my multicolored markers, and I am mind mapping. Or as I did yesterday, I spent 6.5 hours online with ChatGPT brainstorming. Yes, we were brainstorming. We were going backwards and forwards. I would suggest things. It would come back and give me feedback on that, and then suggest something else. And then I would go give it my feedback on what was coming back. I will tell you this. We have got so much stuff sitting on the shelf right now because I was laser focused. I had this amazing coaching call with my business mentor. We had an amazing coaching call. And then afterwards, I was like, I have got to get this stuff out of my head. And so I sat down on ChatGPT and just went, and then it went, it actually paused for about 15 seconds before it started responding. I'm like, hang on, this is taking a long time for it to, maybe it's reading through what I said and thinking about it. Huh, that's pretty cool. But it was an amazing experience. It came back with some, I mean, we even started quoting, if you've never seen the movie Flight of the Navigator from 1986, it's a really cool movie. It's just one of those movies that stick in your head from your teenage years. And even though I was in the Air Force at the time, when that movie came out, I was in the Air Force. Oh my gosh, it's going to be 40 years old next year. But it was a really cool movie at the time, and it's always stuck. There's little phrases that are stuck in my head. And at one point I said to ChatGPT, I says, you sound like, I says, this phrase here that you said, I said, it sounds like it came from the movie The Flight of the Navigator from 1986. And then it starts quoting Flight of the Navigator back at me. And so we just had this whole brainstorming session with these Flight of the Navigator quotes thrown in there. It was hilarious. It honestly felt like there was another person at the other side just typing in the responses and things like that. But It was really cool. And I came alive during that time. I did have to take a break to do the podcast, take Zeffy for a walk, have dinner, and then I was back online till like 11:30 last night. And I finally said to ChatGPT, I says, look, my brain is so full right now. It's going to take a while for this to process. It needs some rest. My body is saying it's resting time. So I'm calling it a night. I know you could keep going all night and all day and everything for the rest of the week, but this body needs a break. And it's sort of like, yep, go get that restorative sleep, and you need to do this and you need to do that. And I'm sort of like, I will see you tomorrow. And so we've had a couple of chats through. We had a chat very briefly this morning before I started my Friday mornings are crazy. So before I started my crazy day, I had a brief chat with it. When I finished work this evening, I had another chat with it. And again, we're back on that brainstorming thing. And that's when that come alive. The other time I come alive is when I'm researching genealogy and I'm hot on the trail of an ancestor. Like I get that. You find a record and it's almost like it's right there. It's right on the edge. You know, like when you have stuff on the tip of your tongue, you know what you want to say and it's right there on the tip of the tongue and you can't quite grasp it. That's what sometimes it's like with genealogy when you're researching. You just instinctively know you are on the right trail, but is there a fork coming up in the road or do I stay on this trail? So you got to keep following the instinct of that. And it's, when you break through a brick wall, that's another phase. It's like, yes, we got that one. Or you discover the truth behind a family myth or you find the missing ancestor. And I come along, and when that happens, I'm like out of my chair, dancing around the house. And Zeffy's just sort of like, what the hell are you doing? But why this matters, whatever makes you feel like you come alive and you're sort of like you've got this excess energy, start dancing around the house, go out and do something and celebrate, be caught up in the moment. Grab your partner and dance around the living room or something. Grab a kids and start dancing with them or play games with them. Whatever it is that you can be present in the moment with this sense of joy and aliveness, that is part of your legacy. Your kids, your grandkids are going to remember those times. Oh, do you remember the time that grandma did this or grandma did that? And da-da-da-da-da-da. Grandma cooked that meal and it tasted horrible, but we said we liked it anyway. What's your legacy going to be? There's all sorts of stuff that can come up. Legacy isn't about perfection. It's about connection. It's not about perfection. It's about connection. Yeah. The perfect moment in your head will outweigh the actions that you take every day. So stop trying to perfect things, stop being a perfectionist, and look at the connection. If you don't feel alive, your legacy might not feel real either. What makes you feel most alive might be exactly what someone else needs to inherit from you. And I think these are the questions that I've got in the thing. Yeah, so the questions I have in the description below for you are, when's the last time you felt fully alive? Mine was about half an hour ago when I told ChatGPT I had to go and get ready for the podcast. But I still feel alive. I've still got the buzz going through me because we've been brainstorming again. What were you doing? I was brainstorming with ChatGPT. Who were you with? Me, myself, and I and Zeffy. And how can you make that feeling part of your weekly rhythm? It's just brain dumping. It's brain dumping. It's like the times I would feel most even when Brad was alive, we would, he'd be sitting in the room, I'd be in the office, all of a sudden I'd have an idea, I'd jump up out of my chair, I'd run out of the room, pop myself down on the couch and go, I've got an idea. And he would just look at me and go, uh-huh. And then he was like, do I need to listen and respond, or do you just want to brain dump? And I said, and most of the time I'd just look and go, both. Or I don't know. I'll decide at the end and he's sort of like, okay. And he would put down whatever he was doing and he would sit there and he would listen. He would be present in that moment with me. And then we may go backwards and forwards on the idea, or I may just go, okay, speaking it out loud, it sounds really stupid. I'm going back to work. Thanks for listening. And I'll get up and run out of the room and back to the office and with the work stuff. So that's how you work. You didn't know that your keyboard sounded like that, did you? So, oh my gosh, I am alive and I am in the moment. So that is what we have for you today. So when was the last time you felt fully alive? Right now. What were you doing and who were you with? I was brainstorming with ChatGPT. and then talking with you guys. And how can you make that feeling part of your weekly rhythm? Find moments in the day, live in the moment. You know, we're expecting rain. I want to go out and dance in the rain before the storm part hits. So if it starts raining before the thunderstorm comes in, I can go out and dance in the rain. If the thunderstorm arrives first, I'm going to have to wait for that to roll past, and hopefully it will still keep raining. I just want to go out and dance in the rain so badly. So there's thunderstorms in the forecast. Whether we actually get them or not, I don't know. But it'll be fun if we do. If we don't, it's okay. We still feel alive because I'll be brainstorming with ChatGPT again tonight, because it was really funny. He was saying, because I sit in the navigator's seat and direct which way our conversation is going to go. And there was something that we need to set up in Canva. And I said, I'm not sure how to set that up. And he, because there's a little bit of Canva, side of Canva I've never used before. I says, I'm not really sure how. I can probably figure it out, but I'm not really sure. And ChatGPT says, that's okay. You steer, I'll navigate. And I'm like, really? So I have my line ready for him, which is from the movie Flight of the Navigator, which when Max, who is the spaceship that David, who's the navigator, is in, when Max says to him, goes, we'll navigate already. So I'm waiting to use that line with ChatGPT tonight. It's going to be fun. Anyway, whew, that was a lot in a short time. Anyway, we're out of here. We're going to go for a walk. So go out, have a super fantastic, sparkling evening. We will catch you guys back here tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. At 6 p.m. tomorrow. For those of you who are celebrating Easter, it's Good Friday today. And I have to say this. In New Zealand, we get Good Friday off. And we also get the Monday off as well, because Easter is on Sunday. So they give us a 4-day weekend. Isn't that nice? And over here, it's just a regular working day. And for the last 28 years, when it's come to Easter, when it's come to Good Friday, I always have that thing in me, like, I need to be taking this day off. Sunday, I will be taking that day off. Yes, I will do my podcast, but Sunday is a day of reflection for me. And so it's going to be interesting, because after doing all this stuff on legacy this week, being able to have that day of reflection on Sunday, the day of reflection, the day of renewal, the date of rebirth, anything that you can put into that category there is what I'm going to be concentrating on Sunday. So I'm already planning ahead to have the meals already made. So I just need to go to the refrigerator, take them out, and they don't need to be reheated or anything. So meal prep will be tomorrow. For meals on Sunday, to just be able to go to the refrigerator, grab it. I'm making up my little charcuterie boards. I got these 3-compartment glass storage containers, and so I make up these little charcuterie boards inside those. So the like stuff goes with the like stuff and all of that. So there's no juices flowing into the areas that there shouldn't be if you've got fresh fruit in there and that sort of stuff. But so I can just go grab those. So it's basically going to be a snacking day. It's going to be awesome. But it's a really good day to reflect and renew and just sort of like check in with myself. Where am I? Where am I going? Where are my goals going? But more, it's about checking in with what's going on in here and in here. So that's going to be me on Sunday. But today, for those celebrating Easter, happy Easter for those celebrating. And we will catch you guys back here tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. Pacific. Hey, konara. Oh, and please don't forget, if you want to make comments on this video, please do it on the YouTube channel so we don't lose it when Facebook deletes it in 30 days.